So hello and welcome. Welcome to our webinar on taking control of your business documents, so how to streamline collaboration and strengthen compliance with Nimbus Content Store. This is our centralized document management. My name is Blair Valentine. I'm part of the consultant team, and also I'd like to introduce you to Michelle Van Dyke. She's also part of our sales and marketing team, and she'll be helping me out during this webinar. So what we're doing throughout this webinar is, if you've got any questions or comments in the comments area in Teams, if you want to just put those through, and Michelle will just take those down, and we'll go through those through a Q&A sort of session at the end of the webinar. So just any questions or comments, just save those for the end, and we'll go through those at the end of the webinar. Great, so what do we want to cover today? So session objectives, we want to have a look at how you can automatically save key emails, how it can contain reports, invoices, contracts, whatever that you can think of, and automatically email them into Nimbus via your email system. We want to be able to have a look about how you can instantly save your quotes to the content store for real-time visibility across your team, boosting your productivity. We want to easily manage your HR or any sort of documents like medical certificates or any sort of examples to stay compliant with less effort. We want to be able to follow and look at how we can improve compliance, fast, reliable access to key documents for audits, auditing, and long-term record keeping. And if you've ever seen any of my webinars, you'll know that I like a good definition. So the definition of content store is: a content store or content repository is a database of digital content with an associated set of data management, search, and access methods allowing application independent access to the content. Whew, quite a mouthful. It's like a digital library with the ability to store and modify content in addition to searching and retrieving. And that's thanks to our good friends at Wikipedia. So today's agenda, what do I want to go through? So I want to do a bit of a recap against what we've also covered previously, so a review of the content store to date. So we'll look about how we save documents, how we tag documents, security that's wrapped around documents, revisions, viewing, and other sorts of areas. So we'll do a quick little recap about that. And that's also perhaps, we've done some webinars before on the content store, and some more in-depth details can be found in those previous webinars. Then we want to delve into a little bit about what's new, or what have we been working on with content store lately. So that's about our ability to migrate from our existing Nimbus document stores, our ability to, or enhance functionality around searching within our documents and content store, additional tagging features, our ability now to save quotes directly to the content store, our ability to email in directly to the content store. If we email in, what happens if we get some errors come through? How do we actually deal with that? And other sorts of things and functionality that we have around what we term as content store widgets, or ability to see some of that information that comes through. So first of all, talk about what is document management. So from my perspective, Nimbus, your accounting system, is an ERP system. It's an information system, so it contains a lot of information, but it's how that information comes in. So it can be keyed in, so keyed in through our forms. It can be imported in through some of our forms or through some of our reports. Processes can be run, it can be all sorts of updated in different ways, but it also can be attached or brought in through external applications. So these can be PDFs, Words, all sorts of different documents, Excel, anything like that comes in. So it's about being able to manage those. It's about being able to track the document's life cycle. So when it first entered into the system, somebody modified it, somebody looked at it, somebody did something with it, some activity or revisions, or what are the latest versions, all sorts of things around that. So to me, that's what I'm talking about today when we talk about document management. So if I can just minimize this, I will get into Nimbus ourselves, and we can start to go through. So I want to have a look first of all just about, this is the review of our content store to date that you may have already seen, just to cover it off a little bit. So I'm just going to go in here and find a job. So I know a job that we're looking for is 1154. Now, if you just notice the example of this, my job list screen is all full of color. I'm just going to do a harmless plug for previous webinars that we've done on reporting or report writing, about how you can make different color changes to that. So this is the colorful version that I kind of made a little bit gaudy, but just to give an example. But I'm going to look for my job 1154. Now 1154, I'm going to be a bit nostalgic because it's the same job that Michelle used when she did her webinar on Content Store almost over a year ago now. So Content Store, how this works is that Content Store gets throughout the system in lots of different areas, you'll have a button that says Content Store. And if I click on Content Store, it'll open up a view of an example like this. So if there's any existing documents, it'll list them, it'll tell you some information about it. So on the left-hand side, indications what sort of a document it is, whether it's a spreadsheet or it's a Word document, what it's called. We can add additional descriptions to it, who actually did it, when it was last changed, and revisions. How many versions of this does the system actually have? So one of the first things I want to show you about is how do we actually save a document. So there's a couple of ways of doing that in the system. You can add a document, so it can go away and search on your network drives to find a document to add, or you can, using Windows Explorer, you can drag and drop a document. So as an example, if I drag and drop this one, it comes up and says drop files to upload. I can release it. I come up and say, okay, I'm choosing this document. And what we're doing here is something called tagging. So we're giving it some extra information. So what is the document purpose and what is the document type? So for me, the document purpose here is a general document, as an example, and the document purpose is a working document for a job. But what is, the document type is a working document for a job. But what is also useful to note around here is that these definitions that we have of document types and document purposes are what we also use to define around security. So the document type defines who in your organization has access to these particular documents that we save. So not everybody's going to be able to see this if you don't give them permission to look at particular documents. So I've tagged it now. So here's my document that I've loaded. I've said it's for a general purpose and that it's relating to work. If I save this, this now appears in my list of documents. I can then click on it. I can then choose to view it, or I can choose to edit it or download it, all those sorts of things in a document. But what really makes something like this really special is the fact that it gives you control around what's happening. So as an example, if I wanted to, in my document, if I wanted then to make changes to it, I can actually, over here, there's a wee area that I can click on to what is termed as checking it out. So check in my Word document. I can then choose to edit it. It'll pop it up into Word. And I can make a change to this document. And I can say now I'm going to add, example 3 as an example, and I can save it. I don't have to worry about where it's saving it because it's saving it back into the content store. I can save it and then close that down. And then I can finish editing my document. Sorry, I don't want to do that. I can check my document back in. Clicking too many buttons. Do you want to check in the changes? Yes, I do, what I made. And now you can see what's changed here is that the current revision of my document, rather than it being 0 when I first started, it's now become 1. If I click on that 1, it will give me a list of, here are my documents that I've actually had in the system. Here's when I originally started it, and here's my new revision. And what I can also then go is oh, okay, that's great. Come in later on and I want to think, well, what was it that I originally did? I can also choose to compare. So I can highlight the 2 documents that I'm in, and I can go and click on the compare button. And what that do will give me a side-by-side example. So over here is my new document with example 3 that we just added, and I can see over here on the right that this is showing my existing document or my previous document, so I can see actually at a glance quickly where is the differences between that document. And this can be really handy, especially if you have a document that's had lots of check-ins and checks out and changes that have happened to the document. So if I look at this one as an example, if I click on that, you can see there's lots of different changes that have occurred over a different period of time by different people. So it gives you a really good control over who's made changes when, and it also gives you a great control in the fact that, okay, something happens and you wanted to get that document back that you made changes to, 2 or 3 versions ago. You can easily click on this and then actually open that document and start to make edits and check it back in again if you wanted to make that your main document. Now, while I was in here, I just wanted to also give you some examples around what else can we do when we're in here. Well, what's really useful as well is that from an auditing perspective, what activity's gone on with that document. So on the last changed here, you can see that it highlights and I can click on and it shows me what are the latest activities, or I could go to that revisions that I showed before. So if I show activities as an example, it can go through and say what's actually happened to this. So this is from the very beginning in time, what's happened to this document when it was added. Somebody may have chosen to email that to somebody from the content store. Someone's chosen to review it. Someone's added some additional tags to it, all sorts of stuff. So from a auditing perspective, everything has been covered about what was changed. So that I previewed and had a look at a document at these particular times, etc., that I took it out, made a change. It's really great from an auditing perspective, and really great to be able to, if you ever have auditors come into your organization, be able to say, I can fully prove what's happened to this document over its life cycle. What we can also do from here as well is that I can highlight a particular document and I can choose to look at the detail button. And what this detail button gives us is a little bit more information. So it gives a quick preview of the document itself. You can actually add, if you wanted to, you can add comments to a document. It shows what tags belongs to the document. So the tagging is about, where does it fit in the organization. So it's automatically tagged this document against Michelle as an employee, a particular job number, and it's got it as a proposal and a reference as the document type. There's also some other areas in here that you can look at where it says notifications. So what's useful about this is that you can have a particular document that you're working on, and if you ever want to make sure if someone else opens it or does any sorts of revisions to it, you can check some of these boxes so that when somebody opens it, the system will automatically email you to say that your document's been opened or somebody's revising your document or any of these sorts of areas. So that's really a handy feature to have. Okay, what I want to talk about now, so this is a quick revision about documents as to what you may have seen so far if you've looked at some previous webinars or a user of Content Store. What I want to talk about now is I want to go back to our little agenda and I want to have a chat about, okay, we're into what's new. Migration from the Nimbus document store. So if you're already a user of Nimbus, you may be using what we term as a document store. So what this is a method of storing documents that we devised prior to Content Store, in which the documents were stored in your Nimbus database. For some of you as users, that this, as your systems have grown and as your number of documents have grown and as everything's gotten bigger, your Nimbus database has gotten bigger as part of that. So your document store's gotten really quite large. For some people, it may cause some of your database to slow down possibly, or your database backups to get large, or for you to run out of room on sometimes your database side of things. Content Store doesn't have this issue anymore. So Content Store is independent of your database and it can be stored and backed up outside of that. So we no longer have those issues and it's quick and easy to access. So what we've come up with are tools and techniques that if you're already a Document Store user, we've got a migration process. So you can choose to, as part of, if you choose to go to Content Store, as part of that is to actually migrate all your existing Document Store documents into the Content Store, so it goes and uses those rich features that I've just shown you and some additional new ones that I'm going to show you coming up. So we have functionality around that. So if you want to look at doing that, please just have a chat to our sales team. Happy to help. Okay, want to look now a little bit more about what are some of the new stuff that's going on in Content Store that we've done in the last little while. So I want to look about searching the documents, searching the screen, additional tagging features, the ability to save quotes, emailing into the Content Store, what happens if the email's got an error, and some other things around widgets. So I'm just going to quickly now look at some of those. Oops. Okay, so if I go and have a look in searching option, so if I look in my Content Store search, what we have is a nice search screen in which we can look through every single document in the system. So if I go and do an asterisk and enter, this will actually bring up pretty much most of the documents that are in the system. I've done some stuff here. So basically it will come up and show you the document name and it'll show you some descriptions and things about it, but I wanted to make it a little bit more meaningful. So if we remember before, I talked about that some of these documents have what's called a, if I show detail, they have a tag. So you can see here, this has got a tag saying what job it actually belongs to. Is that I can get a bit more clever with this and actually create some fields or create some columns here that show, okay, here's the job number that's shown, or here's the data, or here's other sort of information that I've tagged in the system to make it easy to show something. So as an example, the job that I was on before, 1154, I can now easily just search and find every single one that's relating to that if I wanted to from that perspective. Oh, and just to mention about some of that tagging that we talked about, or some of the areas of the system where we currently use with with the content store. So some of those are like from a debtors perspective, or from jobs or creditors, or projects or contacts, or CRM stock about our job issuing side of things, our employees, hazard activities, debtor transactions, job transactions, all sorts of things, purchase orders. There's all sorts of areas out of the box that this is already tagged against, and we have that content store button. Now, something else that's really useful about that is that rather than actually just searching all of the documents, I can search for a word in a document. So I could go for, I know test is mentioned lots of times. So I'm going to enter test, get rid of my little job number there so it searches on all the documents. And nice and quickly it comes up and it comes and shows where does it show on the document. So not only is it searching in the title or anything like that, it'll actually, like a PDF or a Word document, it will actually go and search within the document itself and show you where is this actually referenced. So where is it actually showing test, or so it's within an email, it's within a PDF, it's within a Word document, within a spreadsheet. It'll actually find that what you're looking for it there as well. So this makes it a really handy, very quick search screen to find all your documents in your system, to quickly be able to find something and draw back to where that actually is, to access it in the system. So additional tagging features. So something I just wanted to show you as an example, to run through like a real life perhaps case that people may use or not use. So if I was in Nimbus, we have the option for a screen that is what's a leave planner. So people can put in there if they want to apply for leave or put anything like that, or you could put in if you have sick leave or something like that if you're using that to store it. So in my example here, poor old Blairy's been sick a few times over the last month or so. I'm having a bit of a fun entering sick days. We have a content store, or I've set up a content store button on my activity for being sick. So as an example, in my content store, if I open that up, I have done, I've got I could pretend it's a medical certificate as to why I was sick, or why I was applying, why I had that sick leave. I can view it. I've been very boring and just called it sick leave, so you can see what it looks like. So that's useful. But also what that means is that if you're using like this leave planner, there's in our system, we've got an option for a person that approves it. So it means that someone, i.e. if it was holidays or anything like that, they could go through and go open whatever I'd actually entered, and they can see what I actually put in the system. So they can easily still themselves see, here's what my document is, or my medical certificate, or whatever that I've put in there as an attachment to it. And that can be kind of anywhere in the system. But what makes it even more clever in Nimbus, and that's something that we do from a productivity perspective, we kind of like to think of, you know, if we put information somewhere, we want it to be easy for you to get access to. So i.e. you can click to it from multiple screens, or get to it in 1 or 2 clicks. So as an example, if I now go and look at my employee record, so that's for me, so I haven't tagged that against my employee record. It has done it automatically in the system, because behind the scenes I've told it, if somebody makes a sick leave application or something like that, and it's in the system and they attach something, that in the content store for that employee, so i.e. for me, it will also attach it there. So if I open that up, you'll automatically see here is that sick leave that I've got. So it's not tagged against me as an employee or anything like that, but it's automatically appeared there. And we can do that with any document throughout the system. So you might attach something to a particular job, but because it belongs to a job, we know about maybe who the supervisor is, or who the contact person is, or who the customer is, or all that sort of type of information. And we can then automatically tag it against that as well. So when you go and have a look against your customer, you can see a list of all the job documents that are attached to it on all that. You know, like the options are endless. So it's just letting you know that that functionality is available. Okay, great. Next thing I want to talk about is quoting. So we all know that if you're using quoting in Nimbus, and I will go through and find one. If we're using quoting, the standard process in quoting is the fact that, let me just find my Mr. Customer. And here's my example. Standard sort of thing is that you go through, and we've got quite an extensive sort of quoting screen that comes up and does lots of great things. So I've just done a really basic sort of quote, bring it up here. And what we've done with the content store, we've added some extra buttons. So at the top here now, instead of sort of previewing it in Word, we have an option to send it directly to the content store. Or under File, we have, instead of previewing it in Word, we've got another option here to send it directly to the content store. So what we have is for our quote templates, we can say for these particular templates, we want these documents actually saved in the content store. And by clicking on this, it will automatically do it. Now, what's a reason you might want to do that? Now, one of the reasons is because of revisions. So every time that you make a quote and you save it, you would normally save it and it would save it to a Word document, and somebody would store it somewhere on a network. Someone would create another version of it, they would store it somewhere on the network and possibly overwrite what they've already done. So what this gives us is what we saw before, that option that when we save these quotes, we're going to be able to see all the different revisions and versions of what this was. So if you ever wanted to go back to an earlier version that you created, you can simply and easily do that within the content store. Okay, one of our great new features that a lot of people have been asking for now is the how do I also email documents into the content store. So examples around this is that you might be out in the field, you might have a document that comes in from somebody, and it's in you open up your mobile device, it's on your email, and you just want to be able to get it into Nimbus so that people can then make sure that it's tagged against the right job, or it's about the right information so they can see what's actually happening there. So let me talk to you about how this works. So I will bring up in the system, here is one that I've prepared earlier. So here is a document that I'm going to email into the content store. So how does this work? So basically you define an email address. In the case of this, I'm in my Nimbus marketing demo system, and I've got it against an email address that's called content. I'm doing an email, and I can do multiple documents against this. And how it works is that we've got these tags. So if you remember what I talked about before, we can tag what the job number is, we can tag what the purpose is and what the document type is, that sort of type thing. We can put all those in. To make it really simple for us, we can sort of put them in brackets so it makes it more obvious to the system that it's doing that. It can say job number. We could make it simpler. It could say job or jobs or something like that equals 199 or something like that. But even more importantly, like so a lot of customers will say, but that's really great, but that doesn't look so good in the document. Now, a computer system doesn't care about how things actually look. So as an example, I can actually format that and actually make it clear. So even though you can't see it, it's actually still there. So for us, from a Nimbus perspective, we've actually got that hidden as part of our signatures. So in here, if I just change the font color of that one to black, you can see it's actually hidden there as part of the signature automatically. So that's something you could do if your document purpose and type is always the same, and all you want to do is make it simple to enter a job number, which can be at this level, it can be in the subject line. You can white it out if nobody wants to see it says job number equals 199 or something like that. So I will email this in. So I'll just click on send. We'll just give it a second or two for it to arrive. So what that happens now is it goes through the email system. It's received into the email system. Nimbus has a process that's running in the background that's scanning that email address. It's looking in that email address, and it's then going, okay, I have this email that's come in. It's got these attachments of 3 or 4 items. It then goes through and attaches the email itself. It then splits out those 4 different documents and attaches that automatically. So if I go into my job list, and I will have a look in my job number that I had, 1199, test emails for the webinar. Let's have a look at my content store and see if I've given myself enough time for it to come through. There we go. Perfect. So here we go. So here is the document, the email document. I can view the context of what was actually in there. So I'll pop it up so you can actually see that. You can see the attachments that are within it, but you can also see that it split out those attachments or those documents. So they could have been PDFs or Words or anything like that. It's already split them out, and it's automatically, from what we tagged it before, if I show you the details, and we can look in that tags area, you can see that automatically attached in. It knows who it's been emailed from, who it was emailed to, the document type and purpose that was attached around that, and the job number that was attached around that as well. This is kind of showing the job ID, but the job number was 1199. So the ID is the unique one behind the system to the database itself. and that's automatically come into the system. So very easy and very simple to do, very quick, very instantaneous. And as I mentioned before, you can make that almost to the point that, nobody has to even know that information's in there. You can change the text to white. We can make it real simple so that all they're entering is just the job equals 1123 or whatever it is, and automatically send it. And as part of that, it goes to the content store and automatically it appears. Now, sometimes when somebody's doing that, what happens when they make a mistake? So instead of my job number being 1199, I've put an extra couple of ones or something on the end of it. So I'll email this in to show you as an example, how do we catch errors that come into the system? So I'll email that in. So what we have is we have a screen in the system that comes up with these tag errors. And I'll just give this a little bit more time for it to come through, but I'll explain kind of how it works. So how it works is that it'll say who it's come from, when it came into the system, and it'll give you a reason why it actually hasn't seen this. So somebody in the system, like an administrator or somebody that has the job of actually keeping an eye on this, will be able to come in and every now and then have a look to see, did somebody email something to my content store that was a mistake? So here's my document come in that I sent just earlier on, my test document 5, and it's come up and it says the tagged value does not exist in the database. So if I go into it and I click on the detail, I can see over here in my tags that it said, here's exactly what my error is. It's an invalid job. So my job number that it came through at just wasn't correct. So it couldn't validate it. So what happens at this level to fix that up? So at this level, you can click on here and go, I want to add to my job, or even if you wanted to tag it against other areas, you could actually choose some of these other areas in the system that you wanted to tag it against. So you could add it to the system and put in what the job number is, and then all we have to do there is that for these validate tags at the end that say held for review or invalid jobs, we click on the minus button to make them go away, and then it automatically passes it back through into the system and attaches it to the correct job, and it passes through and works through the system. Just as what you'd expect it to do. So this is a nice and quick and simple and easy way that you can catch the fact that if we're emailing from out in the field, someone makes a typo on the job number or some other sort of type detail around it, that it can be caught in the system, validated, updated, and sent back into the system so that you can easily see it. So what I hope that I've covered off this morning so far is in regards to what we've previously had in the content store, what's new in the content store. Oh, one last thing, of course, just about missed this part. Okay, this is quite cool. So I want to just show you this. It's just a sort of a gadget that we have, but it's just interesting to sort of see how this works. So as an example, I have in my system, oops, stop clicking on things, Blair. I have in my system, in my asset list, I have obviously a series of assets. I've got this one that's a big hot mix spreader, a big truck in my content store, as an example, and I'm talking about here about what I term as sort of gadgets or widgets. In my content store, I've actually sort of saved an image, and here's an image of my hot mix truck that belongs to my asset. But what I have in my asset report, it's over here, isn't it? Look at my items. Is that I have a tab on my form, and it shows the photo or the doc. So what it's automatically doing is, because when I tagged that in the content store, I tagged it as a photo, it automatically knows to show the latest photo that's in there. So we can add these sort of gadgets or widgets or other sort of areas like this in the system as well. So, it could be the image of an employee against employee record. It could be an image of your asset or something like that, or an image of, quickly to show what was the last action that was done, or problem with a particular job that you're out in the field dealing with. So we've got lots of great things that are coming through with the content store. Okay. Great. A lot of information, a lot of things to have a look at. As I mentioned, it's a good opportunity to go back and watch the webinar again if you wanted to sort of see some more details. But now's an opportunity, Michelle, if anything's come through for any questions, or anybody's got any sort of discussions they want to bring up about what have you seen so far in the content store? What questions do you have about it? How could it perhaps relate to your business?
Alrighty. We've only got one question, although there's another one. Just a sec. So, a question: would Content Store come with our next upgrade? Um, So yeah, Blair, I don't know if you want to answer that or should I? Basically, the short answer is that it's Content Store is not part of the core system. It can be done during your upgrade, even though that's something that we'll do after the upgrade. So I will, yeah, we can talk about that offline more. And then there's another
Yeah.
question.
Oh, can I just add a little
Sorry.
bit?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So just so people also know, so like so the functionality of the content store exists in your system behind the scenes, right? So like so when you talk about will it come as my upgrade or it come as part of that. So when you get continuous updates or upgrading from an earlier version of 608 to 609 or something like so that, and you get some of our newer, I guess we call them our next generation platform features like of content store. The options are whether you actually sort of enable them or don't enable them or use them. So they exist there as to be configured and turned on behind the scenes. So all you have to be able to say to to the Nimbus team is, hey, I want content store, and if you've got continuous updates or you've been upgraded recently, all the functionality is all there just for us to configure and turn on. So no more sort of implementing of anything. It's just basically configuration and it's ready to go. Sorry, just wanted to add that part, Michelle.
Good. Thank you, Blake. Alrighty, we have another question. How much extra storage capacity would you need to run Content Store on the server?
Oh, so then what happens there is content store, it basically attaches it as a file storage. So as in like so your disk drives on your system. Most people nowadays disk drives have disk space is cheap. So it really depends on the size of your documents, right? So it's unlimited based on your only limitation is how big your drives are, which most people have hundreds of gigabytes of size drives and that sort of type stuff as well. They can be easily backed up with your backups and sort of things that happen throughout the system and those sorts of monitoring of disk space running out on your drives and that sort of stuff is just a part of a normal sort of type server monitoring sort of functionality which should be occurring as part of your normal business process.
Great. All right. And then we have another question. Is this eventually taking over Nimbus document store?
Well, I guess what we can say around that is that this is the functionality that we're adding to, right? So it's what we're improving and we're constantly adding to make it a better product within that. So hopefully from what you've seen so far from this morning or from this webinar is what functionality it has, what opportunities it has in your system, how easy it is to open up Content Store to search for that information, how to link it to different areas of your system, and to find all that sort of type information. So we're putting our time and effort into this because we think this is a better solution. We're not saying there's anything wrong with the existing document storage that we have or a document store that we have at the moment, but we think this is an improvement.
Perfect. All right. And then I've got another question from a client that couldn't attend who asked, when emailing into Content Store, is it possible to add additional tags that are more specific to our business needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I showed you before, when we talked about tagging, we had some of the examples that are defaults that come out of there is that some of them are like, so you can tag it against a job when you email it in, you can tag it against a customer, a particular project, a particular creditor, that sort of information. But there could be something in your organization that you really want to keep track of. And we can create custom tags. So it can be whatever that you want it to be so that it can be entered as part of that, tagged in the system, and then it can be referenced and searched upon throughout it. So absolutely, all those sorts of things, it's fully customizable. Basically, our limitation is your imagination or basically meeting your business needs.
Yeah, perfect. All right. And is there a way to see how many documents are linked to a specific job? I
Yeah,
guess
absolutely.
without going into Content Store.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my lovely example of my job list color that I had earlier on, if I clear my sorting, I've got a content file button here. I can sort that in a different way. And you can then see here are the number of documents that are amongst my job. So any screen we can do that. So we can do it at a screen level. We can do it at a form level. So if it pops up a job form, it could say, hey, look, here's your job form test for the customer. It's got 10 documents, so you can see that at a glance. We can do that anywhere in the system that you want to be able to see that sort of information. And then clicking on it will just drill you straight into all those documents so you can look at them for yourself.
Perfect.
So great functionality.
Yeah, perfect. Right, and the last question, can I access Content Store directly from other forms or reports, such as our creditor report?
Yeah, absolutely. So examples around that, like let's talk about one of our other products. We've got Nimbus Scan. So Nimbus Scan is a system which will basically read in creditor invoices that come in. It will scan it automatically, read the lines, bring it into the system, and create purchase orders and creditor invoices and things against that. So like our creditor transaction listing reports, those sorts of ones. In the reports, we've got drill downs that will launch and show you those sort of PDFs around that screen. It'll bring you back to the document, or even like sort of, clever things you can do around that as well, as like sort of even from a Nimbus Scan perspective. Nimbus Scan has an approval process, so people approve the payments of those invoices. You can even link to showing who's approved it and when, and all that sort of type of information. So as I said, it's the system's limited by what your business rules are and what you actually want it to be. So absolutely, we can do all that in the system.
Great stuff. I don't think we have any other questions. If you do, please feel free to just flick them through afterwards via email or give us a call. I guess that's it from the question side. Blair, do you have anything else to add from your side?
No, that's great. So thanks for being part of this webinar today, and certainly reach out to our team if you've got any questions, any sort of comments, and we look forward to seeing how the content store can enhance your business. Thank you very
Cool.
much.
Thank you everyone for joining and taking the time to attend. Just so everyone knows, I will also be sending this out via email, and we'll load this onto our YouTube channel and social media platforms. So as soon as it's up, I will communicate that through, so you can go have a look at it again or share it with your team. So thank you so much for joining. We'll see you soon.